Hi, Happy New Year! So I've chosen a couple of key topics for January's perspectives so that we can start out the year thinking about how we can apply these to the rest of the year. And today's topic is change versus progress. Now, why is this important? For a lot of different reasons. If we take a look at change, a lot of people don't like change. Change in itself, for some reason, can have a negative connotation. I know people in a business setting, when changes are brought about, whether it's changes in management, changes in process, people are a little apprehensive. Immediately they take a defensive and say, oh, no, it's better to leave things as they are. Better for the devil that we know than the devil that we don't know. Heard that several times. And so there's some apprehension. And what happens if we change? Well, there's some uncertainty, isn't there? Maybe I won't have a job, or maybe I won't be as good at what I do as I am today because I've got maybe a certain amount of power in my organization because I know the process as it works today. And if that were to change, I might not be in control of it anymore. So all these things that go through people's head, or maybe it's a diet, and maybe you're a little overweight and you're looking to lose some weight, and making that big change in your diet or in your exercise routine, maybe it's kind of scary. And maybe because there's something underlying inside of you, a belief that's holding you back, and that you're limiting yourself from your own psychology in moving forward, and you want to protect that. So that's kind of some connotation around change. What if you saw change as flexibility? Doesn't that sound a little bit different? Doesn't it have a different connotation with the language? Playing with language in these perspectives is really important because that's really what it is a different perspective. So what if I saw it as flexibility? And I saw it as an easier way to get from A to B. And if I had multiple choices to get from A to B, wouldn't that make me more resourceful? Wouldn't that reduce potential stress? Wouldn't that give me a lot more freedom if I had that flexibility? So there's a perspective for you to take a look at, and maybe that's a different series in itself, which is change versus flexibility. But change in itself, what's important, and maybe that's why some people really don't buy into it and see it as negative, because very often in our society, in our businesses, in our lives, change happens, and it doesn't necessarily bring progress. So let me give some examples of what that is. So let's say a smoker decides that they're going to change. So they make a change and they stop smoking, but they start overeating, or they take on other habits that are not, maybe they drink, take on other habits that are not healthy for them. So that's not really progress. Even though they may have gotten off of one addictive substance, sometimes it leads to another. So really there's an underlying, let's call it cause, that needs to be dealt with before they can really make progress. Let's take a look at it in a business setting. A lot of times companies go, larger companies, they do cycles around centralizing activities and decentralizing activities. So maybe within 10 years it goes from centralizing to decentralizing. And these are changes that are taking place that aren't necessarily bringing progress, because if they brought progress, they wouldn't be changing back to the other strategy. So, or I've seen it in many cases where we were talking about a problem in the organization, and immediately, well, we can implement this tool. This tool is going to solve our problem. So if we implement this document management system, that's really going to solve our problem with the organization, the organization of documents. And at the end of the day, no, that tool is just going to fix a symptom. But if you don't deal with the planning that needs to take place in organizing, garbage in, garbage out. So we really need to think about, when we're looking to change something, if we want to bring it to progress, we want to look at the purpose and the vision behind that change. And if everybody can buy into that purpose and vision and see the compelling future that's going to be there after that change, first of all, that's going to work into the psychology so that these people buy into that. And secondly, is people are going to be more focused on where they're headed, and they're going to you're going to be able to, as a leader of yourself or a leader of a group, to bring in some of the key elements that are necessary in facilitating that change into progress. So what is progress exactly? Just to touch upon it, if change itself isn't progress, how do we get that? Well, we get that, I think, with two different things. I say we get it through learning. So you can't make a change for change's sake. There needs to be a learning. So what was happening before? What is the facilitation for the change? And what's the learning? What's the learning that you take forward into that progress so that you don't make the same mistakes in the future? I can't tell you how many times I've been in organizations where they've made the same mistakes. Maybe the situations were different, but if you boil it down, the mistakes were the same, that they weren't following some of the principles that they could have learned from it. And building on top of that is learning is not enough. Learning is not enough. The question is then, how do you apply that learning? And to really see that you make that application in your life, in your business, and so it becomes not something that you should do, but something that you must do. And there's another topic on that in Perspectives called should versus must, or in that category. And so that's an important aspect because that brings you into progress. It becomes something that you must do so that you don't make the same mistakes again. And that happens by, I consider that really strategic planning, so that when you look at how you're going to do something differently, that you include that in the plan. If we take a look at what Tony Robbins calls the momentum model, or in the NLP world they call it PARB, it's the potential that one has is a result of the actions you take, and those actions produce results, and those results produce then the experiences and the references that turn into our beliefs. Because what's a belief? A belief is really anything that we're certain about. And we build certainty by references, whether they're from things from our past or whether they're from experiences that we've had or the influences around us, whether it's our parents or culture, etc. And in this model, because it really comes back then to your potential, is when you create change, you're not necessarily increasing your potential. You're changing the action. You might be getting a different result because you changed the action. But at the end of the day, it might not be the result that you were looking for. So you're really not making progress yet. So that could actually stunt you in your beliefs that this doesn't work. And so it affects your potential. And at the end of the day, the piece that's missing in that, to change that result to a positive result, is to get the learning and to apply the learning. So how can you use it and apply it in your life? And then even better, how can you share it with others? That's really going to create progress. If you're in a team and you made a mistake, own up to that mistake. Own up to it and teach others what you learned from that mistake and how they too can avoid that mistake. Now that's real progress, when everybody starts applying and changing the process so that it's better because of a learning that you've had. So I want to challenge you this January, when you're goal setting and you're looking at things that you want to change in your life or in your business, to really look at it and see, is this just change, or do we have an element of progress in there? Are we doing a strategic plan to really look at how we're changing things, how we're applying the change, and really also include in the process the measurement and follow-up, so that after you make the change, you can tweak the next round, if you want to call it that, or the reinforcement of applying these changes. So I hope you got something out of today's session. Change versus progress. We all want progress, not just change. So bring that progress into your life starting now and review your plans. And I can't wait to hear about your results. Please share your comments below especially if that was an aha for you, if you realized, yeah, actually, I can see many areas in my life where I've made change, but I haven't made progress. And now I'm going to take that next step. So share your comments. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Take care.